and you know that better than I do. The classic network strategy from the national carrier here was always first we build Copenhagen. If there's something left, we move to Stockholm. Then we have to find the balance with Oslo, getting a quite scattered service, intra-European, and from the other side also international, either leaving via Copenhagen or find your connection. The advantage is that Scandinavians are thus more or less used to make transfers, and where they have a tremendous interest in traveling, your economy is very strong, and the wealth in the countries here is also, compared to the southern European countries, extremely well, but you work all hard for it. At the end of the day, they're used to take the transfers, and therefore our team can be very successful. And we saw an increase of 46% compared to last year in the transfer passengers from Stockholm via Berlin to our destinations. That they look to the total elapsed time, the total times it takes to go from A to B. And if they want to make connections in one day, Airberlin is simply an attractive alternative in case not a direct connection would be there, or what happened in the past, the SAS Lufthansa lines that you had to transfer either in Zurich or in Frankfurt, which is of course not always the most suitable big airport to get a connection within 45 minutes.
You have 45 minutes in Berlin.
Minimum connecting time 45 minutes in the table, which is a tremendous asset. And to be open there, of course, we have there the challenge of the old airport, but the walking distances are small. We are putting a lot of effort in with additional human resources, that if you travel with luggage not carry on, that we're able also to guarantee the 45 minutes with one time and wrong.
Is there a price strategy via Berlin from the Nordic area to America, for example?
Is there a price?
Is it a lower price if you go via Berlin or direct flight?
It's always, that's common in the aviation industry, you maybe know this better than I do. Direct connections are always more expensive than connections via, although we have of course more handling costs. But we try to be where we do not have a time advantage, to have a price advantage on top of the product quality we are offering. So it is attractive.
When it comes to the Nordic market, is it leisure or business? Is it 50-50 or 60-40? Or
It is 50-50. We can say the following, that first of all, Scandinavians with their buying power, with the fact that you are all speaking your languages very easily, are quite independent in traveling. If a Scandinavian wants to travel for a city trip, they can take Airberlin, and we have this segment very well served out of Stockholm and out of Gothenburg. If a Scandinavian wants to go, for instance, to play golf on the Canary Islands, or wants to go to Palma de Mallorca, they are connecting in Berlin to Palma de Mallorca for instance, a week break in spring or in autumn, and still enjoy the nice weather. If they want to go with Christmas to the Far East or to the Caribbean, they take the longer trip, and again via Berlin or via Düsseldorf you have excellent connections. From the other side, if you're looking to the businessman, if you have to go to Kaliningrad, but if you have to go to Belgrade, Budapest, Bucharest, all those cities, but also, for instance, to Italy, we are having for the businessman a very good proposition with attractive pricing and a full service product. You get on every flight with us, you get a normal service. You do not have to pay for it. On top, looking to our domestic network in Germany, if you want to go to Saarbrücken, to Nuremberg, to Stuttgart, to Munich, all those cities are very well served out of our hubs, Berlin and Düsseldorf. So we have a very clear mix on a 50-50 leisure, city trips, Mediterranean, Far East and Caribbean. From the other side, business trips, including growing number of passengers to New York.
has it been the same difference, 50-50, for the last 4 or 5 years?
No, it has developed because we started far more being a leisure-oriented carrier, but we see that the density of our network, give you some background. We are not having, like other airlines, one type of aircraft. We have a Q400 with 76 seats. If we start a new route, we try to serve it once every day, go to twice every day and building up the frequencies. The moment that we see that the 76-seater is getting a load factor around 80%, we put an Embraer on 110 seats. When we see that the Embraer is there, we are building up further with a Boeing 737-700. And there we can go as big to the Airbus 321. That makes it possible for us to explore markets, first to increase, like we are doing here in the Nordics, the connections between the primary cities and airports, Arlanda, Berlin, Arlanda, Düsseldorf to follow, Gothenburg, Berlin, and then on top of that, the moment that that density is there, looking to the secondary cities, how far could we connect those to our hubs and build on our journey the network.
So if you would name the five top destinations from Sweden, the five most popular routes for Swedes.
Yeah, then of course on the North Atlantic we have Chicago and we have New York, which are doing extremely well. If you look again, in addition to 3 Europeans, our network, for instance, to Eastern Europe, that could be Vienna, but also to Southern Europe and Madrid, like mentioned by Otto, are getting a tremendous growth potential.
But Chicago can't be bigger than Madrid.
Sorry?
Chicago would be much
Chicago?
Chicago.
Oh, Chicago, no, because we have completely different
But
patterns.
Berlin must be the most popular destination.
Berlin is partly the most popular destination due to the fact that we have a lot of tourists going there. Berlin is, after London and Paris, the most wanted European city. And Swedes are simply taking as well a city trip to Berlin, very popular, very cheap by the way. But for the rest, we also have them, of course, connecting, and some of them are connecting with a one-day stopover, which are then counted as tourists. But we know that the reason for traveling was more or less business. We see this via our Trombons program. But
So
of course, the
Berlin
majority,
first.
but Berlin is always first because
Yes.
also the transfer.
But after that?
After that, Jan, what would you say?
I think we should put up the slide here because it's a bit, if we look at the different segments here as well. I mean, as Paul was mentioning, on the left-hand side we have these popular German destinations, and of course these are big business destinations as well. So we have high volumes to all these destinations. So I would say more or less it's a bit in correct order there as well. You can kind of figure out.
And the segmentation.
Exactly. So you have more business oriented on the left-hand side, and then of course you're getting to business and leisure in the middle and on the right-hand side.
And this obviously shifts with the time of year because in August the picture would be a little bit different,
Yeah.
or July,
After Midsommarnatten, 21st of June, of course.
of course.
What kind of airplane fly from Berlin to Bucharest, and how many, the frequency per day or per week?
We fly daily from Berlin to Bucharest with a 737-700.
Where's your growth? Long haul or medium short haul?
We see today our growth domestic Germany. Why? Because Lufthansa made a strategic decision to change the product partly, and Airberlin is simply benefiting from it. Airberlin was there, is there, and will be there, and they know what they buy with us. And it is a little bit confusing if, as some passengers are saying, that's not invented by us, am I flying German Hansa or Luftwings? It's quite messy. So in Germany we get a lot of loyalty if you're looking there to the corporate market. Then we see that by building the density like we are doing here in Scandinavia, we see tremendous growth out of the Nordic region, north-south or northeast or east-west. But from the other side, with American Airlines and Abu Dhabi, the connections, we are finding 6 flights a day, 7 days a week, every evening, and Airberlin is flying twice. So we are flying every day out of Düsseldorf and out of Berlin to Abu Dhabi. We have there 299 seats per aircraft, so in total, let's say 600. 300 guests every day, and we are not always having a 100% load factor, but 300 guests every day are transferred in Abu Dhabi to the Far East network. And that is a tremendous growth. So North Atlantic with American Airlines, Far East with Abu Dhabi on the intercontinental side. Domestic, and where we, for instance, do not see big growth potentials, From the past, we had a very strong Italian touristic network. There we do not recognize the specific growth, that is more consolidation.
When you talk about tremendous growth from the Nordics, can you be any more specific than
Jan,
that?
what have you sold last year compared to the year before?
I'm not allowed to say.